is Amod Kadam, and I am the instructor for today's session. And just for everyone's information, this session is getting recorded. So the recording will be shared with you post the session is over. Gentle request, this is a new normal, and I think we are used to working in such kind of environment. But for last few months, I think we have been locked down. And we have been trying to do this training for some time, but I think this is going to be happening online as of now. So today's session is primarily a demo session, and I'm going to talk about VPC, that's Virtual Private Cloud. And the session is going to last for around 45 minutes. So I will talk about one topic which is called Virtual Private Cloud. And there will be some time allotted for even question and answer. So let's get started. All right, can you see my presentation?
Yes, Amod.
Yes.
Okay, all right. So a little bit about myself. I'm Amod Kadam, and I am in this AWS space for some time now. And I have been doing kind of few certifications from AWS. And I have cleared all associate level as well as professional level certification, as well as recently I did my security specialty. And I primarily work in cloud domain, heavily on AWS as well as other platforms as well, Azure as well. And many companies are using AWS cloud platform. And John Deere is, I think, one of the extensive user of AWS as well as other cloud platforms. So with that background, I think let's get to the main topic. So I will talk about what is virtual private cloud. Some of you might be already using AWS. Some of might be new to AWS. Some of you have used virtual private cloud. Some of you may not have created VPC at all. So in this particular session, I will just give you high level overview of what is VPC and what are the various elements of VPC. So VPC is virtual network in AWS. Now AWS is having many services, and under networking, we have VPC as one service. It closely resembles the traditional network. So now we are used to working on different networks. You might have a guest network, you might have a developed network. Similarly, you might have a prod network in the production environment. So if you want to take your on-premise load or workload you want to deploy in AWS, then you need to have some flexibility or the facility by which you can create similar kind of environment from the networking perspective. And that is where this VPC comes into picture. Now, whenever we work with EC2, I'm sure you must be connecting to a lot of EC2 servers. You must be doing troubleshootings, deploying applications on EC2. Now we know that EC2 runs in AWS, but behind the scene, it runs inside the VPC. So VPC is a networking layer of EC2. VPC is a regional service. Now, some of you might be already aware that some services are kind of, to specific to region. Some elements of the service are specific to some specific AZ and so on. But VPC is a regional service. So I can create a VPC in region, let's say US East North Virginia, or I can create a VPC in Mumbai region. And all these two kind of VPCs which are running in different regions are separate or isolated from each other. Now, whenever you work with VPC, you will always find a default VPC is created by AWS for you. So this is something which you need not create from scratch. Now, if you are familiar with AWS or if you have started using AWS.
Amod?
Yeah?
Just one question. Are you sharing something? I mean, I am able to see the searching this Mac screen only.
Oh, one second.
I mean, the other people, are they seeing same or it just me?
No, I'm also not able to see. Now screen is visible.
One second, let me share once again. What do you see now? Can you see my terminal window?
Yes.
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 One sec. What about now? What
Yeah,
do you
now
see?
it's what is
Yeah.
VPC
Now it's
stage?
Okay, all right. Okay, so I think yeah, this is my first slide, so we haven't really missed from the visual aspect point of view. Okay, so now I think everybody should be able to see, right? Anybody is not able to see my screen presentation? All right. So what is VPC is VPC is nothing but the virtual network as stated earlier. It closely resembles the traditional network. It's a networking layer of EC2. It's a regional service. So VPC is created in specific region. Now, if you are new to VPC or new to AWS, now you might have not created VPC at all. And this is something which AWS added afterwards, like AWS came into picture in 2006. And I started using AWS since 2009. And at that time, like VPC was not there. And afterwards, VPC was created. And if you open an AWS account, you will always have a default VPC. Now, this is something which gets created or it's created by AWS platform for you. Now, this is something which is available in each region. And most of the time, you will end up creating custom VPC. Now, as we proceed further with our session and in subsequent sessions, we are going to look at how to create custom VPC and why do we need custom VPC. We'll understand that as well. So custom VPC is nothing but the VPC which is created by you. And why do we need VPC? Now, one of the major reason is the security. And that is the kind of primary reason for having VPC. Security, security, and security, just to illustrate and highlight the importance of security. Now, security at what level? Now, security is a broad subject. Now, this is security is something which is happening at the networking level. You must be doing a lot of coding or application development, and you must be taking care of a lot of security aspects in your application code as well. But from networking point of view, I want to control certain aspects. So that is something which I can control using VPC. Most of the time, you will have something like public facing servers. You might have a simple website or a web application. And that web application might be running with some kind of web servers. You might have some kind of FTP servers running in kind of public facing servers. But that web application typically talks to a database. So the database could be running on premise, that database could be within your AWS estate. And the database you don't want to expose to the outside world. So such servers or such kind of elements we want to keep private. So typically we say that there is public facing servers as well as private servers. So private servers example is a database. It could be secure services or could be application services which are running in VPC. Now traditionally people have been doing all those things in the on-premise environment. But if I want to take it to AWS world, then I want to configure my VPC in this manner. And VPC allows you to create such kind of combinations. Another popular use case is to establish virtual private network with your on-premise servers. Now this is a very common use case. And in many companies, they go even further extent that they create a VPN with their even development network. And their development servers might be running in AWS as well. So in order to create VPN connection, you need to have some endpoints in the AWS, and that VPC provides those endpoints. Similarly, on-premise will also have its own endpoints. So this is the kind of reason why we need to have VPC. Now let's look at this particular picture. Now you might be connected to a server like in EC2 which is running inside the AWS cloud. But where does it run? So let's understand it in a bit more detail. First, part is region. So whenever you work with AWS, you select a region. For many services, you create your kind of components in the region. So your EC2 server runs in specific region. Next comes the availability zone. Now you must be familiar that the region contains kind of many availability zones. Now availability zones are nothing but the distinct physical facilities located in that particular region. And in India, there is one region provided by AWS, which is called Mumbai region. So in the Mumbai region, there are different availability zones. As of today, there are 3 availability zones in the Mumbai region. So those are distinct physical facilities, and they have different cabling, different networking, different power supplies, and so on. So that is something which one can leverage to create very highly available architectures. But in our example, let's focus only on EC2. So when you are running EC2 in AWS, it is running in fact in availability zone. Let's expand this further. Here comes your VPC element or virtual private cloud element. Now, if you look at this picture, it is showing in VPC with some IP range or CIDR block. Now, this is something which is your CIDR block and or IP range. So your instance runs in this particular VPC. If you drill it down further, then VPC contains something known as subnets. Now subnet is a networking concept. VPC itself is a networking concept. So subnet is nothing but you can create multiple subnets, or you can divide your VPC into multiple segments of a network. So you can say that certain segments are called public subnets, certain segments are called private subnet. Now how to make public and private, that is a separate aspect. But when you have subnetting, then what you can do, you can put all your public facing servers in the public subnet. And the way the public subnet is configured, you can reach to your EC2 instance, which is running in the public subnet from the outside world. So you can deploy your application over here in the public subnet. And if you have additional EC2 instance, which is a database, you can run that in the private subnet. So subnetting allows you to do this kind of segregation, and subnetting also enables you to control traffic at the networking layer. Just imagine that you have like many instances running inside this public subnet. And currently HTTP 80 is kind of allowed since you have web application running, and you encounter some kind of attack. And in that case, you want to block the traffic on port 80. Obviously, it will result in some downtime, but I want to block the traffic on port 80 for all the servers which are running in the public subnet. Then I can do that setting at the networking layer, which is basically uses something known as network access control list. And in the private subnet, you can keep your database and so on. And if your server is running in one subnet, it can talk to servers running in other subnets as well. Now, this is something which you need to decide. Now, when I say you, like, there might be different teams. So some teams might be responsible for solution architecting in AWS. So your solution architect from AWS point of view, they might say this is our network topology, or this should be our network topology. So that is something which has to be kind of designed and implemented subsequently. So your EC2 runs inside the public subnet. So region, then comes the VPC, then comes the AZ, and you have this subnets within that AZ. And remember, the subnet is specific to each AZ. Subnet cannot span across two AZs. So that is something which you need to understand. Now there is one more element which comes into picture when you are creating VPC, which is called internet gateway. Now internet gateway is nothing but something known as entry and exit point for all the internet traffic which comes to your VPC as well as leaves from the VPC. So let's say you are basically doing SSH or taking a remote connection to your server, then also the connection flows from internet by internet gateway and reaches to your EC2 server. Similarly, from this EC2 instance, if you want to download some maybe a patch, then it also goes via this internet gateway to the outside world. So internet gateway acts as an entry and exit point for the internet traffic. Now next is something known as security group. So if you look at this particular diagram now there is one more element which is called security group. Now security group is nothing but the virtual firewall for the EC2 instance. So by configuring your security group elements, you can configure saying that I want to only allow traffic on port 80 and port 443. I don't want to allow traffic on port 22 or RDP port for any public user, but I want to restrict my access to my EC2 instance to only specific IPs if those are coming from, let's say, John Deere IP. So something that is you can configure using security group. So security group is nothing but the virtual firewall. Now the next comes something known as route tables. Now what is a route table and routing? Now whenever the traffic reaches to your EC2 instance, and this, let's say EC2 instance is trying to make a database connection. So assume that there is one more database server over here, and your web application is going to make a DB connection to your EC2. Now that EC2 will resolve to some private IP address, and where to send the traffic is something which is decided by this route table. So I will show you how to look at these route tables and so on by logging into my AWS console shortly. But as a concept, routing entries decide how the traffic is routed. So let's say on this EC2 instance, you do something known as ping google.com. Now whether that ping google.com should be routed via internet gateway or not, that is something which is decided by this routing table. Remember that routing table is associated with a subnet. So currently I have shown 4 subnets here, 2 public subnets and 2 private subnets. And each subnet will have its own route table. And it is also possible that this route table is shared across multiple subnets. So that is something which is where a route table comes into play. And router is a logical element, and that is something which is kind of implicitly there when we create VPC. We don't have to create explicit router. So router basically looks at this routing table and routes the traffic appropriately. So if you are making connection to this private subnet instance, then the traffic will be routed to this private subnet. But if you are making an outbound connection to any internet enabled endpoint, then the traffic will be routed via internet gateway. So that is the role of this route table and router. And one more element which is called now network access control list. Now network access control list, this is something which is controlling the traffic at the network level. We just now saw security group. Now security group allows you to control the traffic to specific EC2 instance. So let's say you have one more EC2 instance running in public subnet, and you want to allow, let's say, traffic on different port, maybe port 8080 for that instance. And for this you want to allow traffic on port 80. So that is something which you can configure. So you can configure different security groups for different instances. But at the network ACL control point of view, NACL, I can say nobody should be able to do SSH or RDP to my EC2 instance. And that configuration or the network access control list is applicable to the entire subnet. So this is like controlling the traffic at the subnet level. Now you must have seen in many companies that companies do not allow you making a connection to maybe like Facebook, or maybe they might block some connection to some other sites. So that is something which they control at the networking level. So in many companies I have seen that even the RDP connections are not publicly open. So if you want to make an RDP connection to specific endpoint or specific IP, you need to give that IP to your networking team. So your networking team will then look at the request and they will maybe approve it or reject it. And once they approve it, then they have to make some changes at that networking layer. So that is something which typically is done at the networking layer. So that you can achieve using NACLs or network access control list in the VPC. So if you look at left hand side picture and the right hand side picture now, you see our EC2 runs in VPC or EC2 runs in the AWS cloud, but internally all these elements are coming into play. So just to summarize this particular section of VPC. So VPC is basically provides you virtual network. It provides you a set of IP range, and VPC is having subnet. So in subnet you can create public subnet as well as private subnet. Public subnet is used for public facing site or applications, whereas private subnet is typically used for databases. Internet gateway is used as an entry and exit point for the VPC for the internet enabled traffic. We just now looked at router and routing tables. So it decides whether the packets to be routed, whether to specific subnets, whether to route within VPC or outside VPC. And we also looked at security group and network access control list, which are nothing but the virtual firewall for EC2 instances, and the NACLs are firewall for the network layer. So that is the way our very kind of high level overview of VPC and various elements. So if you have any questions, please ask any questions. Meanwhile, I will go back to and log into my AWS console. Any questions?
Amod,
All right. Yeah.
Yeah, so as you mentioned that VPC are region specific. So is there a limit on the number of VPCs per region?
Sorry, can you repeat your question?
As you mentioned that VPCs are region specific. So is there any limit on the number of VPCs per region?
Yes. Now by default, you can create 5 VPCs per region. Now that is called a soft limit, and you can actually get your VPC limit increased as well. So like I just need to check the kind of AWS documentation what's the maximum limit. But in certain cases, like I have created VPCs, even 30 VPCs or 40 VPCs in a specific region. But we can get those details from the AWS documentation. I will share that link as well. And these limits, do kind of keep varying. So AWS might increase the limits after some point in time.
Oh, thank you.
All right, thanks. Anybody else?
Yeah, so do subnet also have limits?
Yes, subnets also have limits. Number of subnets, I think we can always check the VPC limits. Are you able to see my browser? Can you see
Yes.
my browser?
Yes.
All right. So if you see this particular, link, I will send this link in the chat also. The VPC per region is the 5. This is the default quota. And if you look at this documentation, as of now, as of today, you can have hundreds of VPCs per region. But that is something which you need to request AWS via AWS support. So in the subnet also, subnets per VPC's limit is 200. So you might have to go through these limits because these limits keep on changing. So I'm just sharing this link in the chat. All right. So what I will do next is I will just log into AWS console. Can you see my AWS console?
Yes.
All right. So I think most of you might be familiar with AWS. So this is the AWS console, and I'm going to go to VPC, which comes under networking. So currently I'm in North Virginia region, and this is my VPC dashboard, and every service has its own dashboard. So currently I see there are like 5 VPCs are already there in my region, but this is something, this is my workshop account. So in my case, I can create additional VPCs because these limits have been increased. So I can go and create a VPC from by clicking on this button. If I go to another region, let's say I will go to, let's say, Sydney. So Sydney is already having a default VPC. Now, depending on your requirement and use case and where your customer is, now you have to really decide, in which region you want to work. So typically you use a region which is closer to your customer. All right, so I will just give you a quick walkthrough of this default VPC. So this is my Sydney region, and if you look at Sydney, there is one VPC, and you will see a lot of parameters here. And if you look at default VPC, it is saying yes. So this is something which is already there, and it has got some CIDR block. CIDR block is nothing but IP range. So if you look at this IPv4 range, this is having 172.31.0.0/16. So this is the default IP range. And if I look at my subnets, now in this case, there are actually 4 subnets shown currently, but out of these, some are default subnets. So if you look at this one, default subnet 1, 2, 3. So default subnet is yes, yes, and yes. So these are 3 default subnets, and each AZ is having a default subnet. And what is the use case for this default subnet? Now, whenever you launch an EC2 instance, I will just go to another screen. So when you launch an EC2 instance, you don't have to really specify any specific subnet. And if you don't specify any subnet, it is going to pick up the default subnet automatically. So this is once again a convenience feature. So let's say there are no running instances, and if you have to launch a EC2 instance, launch instance, I select my instance, select my AMI, and then if I come here, I see all my networking configuration. So currently there is only one VPC. That's why we see only default VPC. And you will see all the subnets which are shown. So what happens when you select a specific subnet, then your EC2 instance will be launched in the specific subnet. But if you said no preference, then by default, it is going to use the default subnet. So your EC2 instance will run in the default subnet. So that's the default subnet. Then we also looked at internet gateway. So internet gateway is something exit point, and there will be one internet gateway which is attached to your VPC. Similarly, we have looked at route table at a very high level. So typically in the session, we go into each and every component in much more detail in subsequent lectures. But let's look at route table. All right. So route table is nothing but it basically has a set of routes, where the traffic should be routed. And that is something which is decided by the router element, which is like implicitly managed by AWS. So this says that if any request goes to any of these IPs, please route this traffic locally within the VPC. And let's say if you want to do a ping to google.com or download from some internet enabled endpoint, then that IP address will be resolved to a destination which is not matching to this IP range. So it will be routed via internet gateway. So that is the way the routing tables are kind of configured. And this is all kind of default configuration. And if you want, you can create your own custom VPC. You can create your own custom route tables depending on your use case. All right. So having looked at this default VPC from console, so just to understand this from diagram, so your default VPC components looks like this. So VPC is created with this CIDR block. It has got multiple availability zones. Now the availability zone something which is decided by AWS. So you might have 3 availability zones in one region. In US East North Virginia, there are more than around 6, I believe. So availability zones do change. And here you have default subnets. It also has a default NACL. It creates a router. It creates these routing entries and so on. So that is something which is created by default. That's called default VPC. And in this default VPC, you can create up to 65,536 nodes. Now the way to derive is that this is the CIDR block. The number of private IPs you will get is 32 minus 16 to 2 is 16, 2 raised to 16 is equal to 65,000 nodes. So in VPC, you can create up to 65,536 IP addresses or nodes. Now, obviously, all are not kind of available. So there are some IP addresses which are reserved. But that is something which is available for you. You can also create your own domain name server if you want. Because by default, all these servers which you launch in VPC, they will get a Amazon specific domain name. But if you want to customize, if you want to give a application specific domain name to all the servers, that is also possible using DHCP option set. So that's about this default VPC components. So let's look at little bit about subnet concept and why is what is this public subnet and private subnet. Many of you may not be coming from the networking background, so I will just spend some time in understanding what is and why of subnet. So subnet is nothing but the logical subdivision of an IP network. And subnetting is the process of dividing network into 2 or more subnetworks. So you might have 4 subnets, 8 subnets, that is your network topology. But why do we want to do subnetting? Organize your network. Second is security. And the third is performance. Now let's look at the scenario. Now assume that you have the single network. And you have various departments like sales department, HR department, accounts, and there might be some guests also might be connecting to your network. And if they're connected to the same network, So if you from the networking perspective, all these nodes can see each other, and guest can access potentially accounts, guest can access sales, sales can access HR, and so on. So from networking point of view, if I want to control that, how can I control that? So basically we are talking about security at the network level. So if I want to establish some kind of a control saying only accounts team should access only account servers and application, I want to control that. Sales should have restricted access to only some HR servers or some HR applications. That is something which I want to control from the networking point of view. See, you might have different mechanisms of controlling the access. Like, so in some cases, you might have application specific access given to all these departments. But we are talking from the networking perspective here. Another point is performance. Now, this is basically the way Ethernet works. So packet collision effect and retransmission of packets. So the way Ethernet works is that if A wants to talk to D, it will send the traffic over the network. But at the same time, if F is trying to communicate with G, then there might collision of traffic happen. So in that case, the traffic has to be resent and retransmitted. So there is a lot of packet collision might happen. And remember, if someone to do broadcast, then all the nodes which are connected to the network will be affected. Now in this particular picture, there are only like 8 nodes, but in reality, there might be 100, 200, 1000 nodes might be connected to a single network. So in that case, managing these kind of at the networking level becomes, that is, subnets are actually used. So the single network is subdivided into subnets. So you will divide the same network into multiple subnets. You will say sales network, you will say HR network, accounts network, and now since you are having this multiple subnets, now the communication from A to B is not going to affect this network because these are isolated. So just referring back to our example of when we talk about public subnet and private subnet, just imagine this could be a public subnet where our public facing application might be running over here, and you have a private subnet. So in that case, these kind of two networks are isolated from each other. But when you are having this kind of a configuration, but our requirement is that okay, now A should be able to access, let's say, C server or application running on C. Now that is something which you can control using routing entries or route table, and that is where the router comes into picture. So whenever the request want to send to another kind of node, it will come to router. If it is allowed by a router, then it will be sent to C. In some cases, I want to restrict, then let's say D cannot really talk to this subnetwork. Similarly, I can control traffic for guests and so on. So this way, you can really achieve this control at the subnet level. So in the context of Amazon VPC, we have looked at router which controls the traffic, and the routing table decides which traffic should be allowed to which subnetwork and so on. So that is something very brief introduction to subnet and why do we need subnetting. And in case of AWS, let's look at some more specifics. The subnet concept is not really specific to VPC, but now let's look at what is the AWS subnets. Now this is another kind of a diagram. Let's say somebody splitting this VPC.
Hello, Amod.
Yeah.
There is some disturbance in voice.
Is it better now?
No, same.
Hello? Is it still the same?
No, now it's better.
Clear?
Yes.
Yeah, it's clear now, sir.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, maybe some network lag.
Okay.
Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes.
Yes.
All right. So I will just cover these some aspects related to VPC subnets. All right, so let's look at this particular diagram on the left hand side. And if you look at this particular diagram, this is a VPC which has got two subnets, public subnet and two private subnets. And there is also security group, public route table, and there's a router. We have not talked about ENI. So that is something known as Elastic Network Interface that we will see later. Now, in case of AWS, subnet is AZ specific. So as I said earlier, that you cannot really span one subnet across multiple physical facilities. So remember that AZ is nothing but there are different physical facilities. Those are nothing but the data center. So you cannot have a subnet spanning across two data centers in AWS. Each subnet have its own CIDR block or IP range. And the allowed IP range is from /16 to /28. So those are some of the specifics of VPC subnets, and there are certain IP addresses which are reserved. Now, whenever you have a subnet CIDR block, then all IPs are not really available for you to use. So some IP addresses are reserved for network address. One IP address is reserved for the VPC router. So we don't create any kind of VPC router per se, but it is reserved by AWS, and AWS runs a router on that particular IP address. And one more IP address which is reserved for the DNS server and so on. Similarly, one IP address is kind of used for future use, and the final IP address of your subnet is a broadcast address. And AWS do not support broadcast, and that is why it is reserved. So if I go back to my AWS console and let me go back to subnets. So if you look at this particular subnet, which is in Sydney region, now this is having a IPv4 CIDR block with /20. Now when you look at this subnet, now how many nodes which we can create in the subnet? Now the way to calculate is that you have to basically 32 minus 20, 20 is routing prefix, that is equal to 12. So you can create 2 raised to 12 IP addresses in the subnet. So 2 raised to 12 comes to 4096. But in case if you look at this one, it is saying only available IPv4 equal to 4091 because the 5 IP addresses are reserved. And those 5 IP addresses are not, you cannot really use those IP addresses. So, like if anybody is planning for any kind of exam, then this is kind of, one of the questions which typically asked in the exam. They may not ask you direct question, but it could be indirect question as well. So that's basically the very broad overview of VPC. And just to conclude my session, now you should be able to read something like VPC diagrams, there are various VPC topologies. So this is one topology which is pretty much common. So in this particular topology, we have some nodes running in public subnet. Now this is a default subnet which is shown here. So the way to read is that there is a region. Within that region, there is a VPC which is default VPC. And default VPC, there are multiple subnets, default subnet 1, default subnet 2, which is in each availability zone A and availability zone B. And the router, which is something which is implicit, which we don't create router explicitly, internet gateway. And there is something known as route table. So this route table, the way to read is that the traffic which is destined to VPC CIDR block is routed locally. The rest of the traffic is routed via internet gateway to the external world. And also in this particular picture, you will see private IP address as well as public IP address. Now, public IP address is something which gets assigned when you launch an EC2 instance in the VPC, depending on your VPC configuration. So this is like one topology, but there are many topologies possible with VPCs. Now, this topology, if you look at this particular picture, now one difference you must have noticed is that there is no internet gateway. Now, there is no internet gateway, and this VPC is called kind of private kind of VPC or private subnet. Now, this might be useful, but this may not be useful in isolation. So you have to really may have to connect your VPC to on-premise network or some other VPCs which are running in the AWS itself. But that is something which is also possible. So the benefit of this model is that whatever you do on this EC2 instance from networking point of view, nobody can actually talk to your EC2 server from the outside world. So that's improving your security. Then this is something which is pretty much common, which is a combination of public and private subnet. Now, how does one subnet becomes public and how does it become private? Now, that is something which we are going to see in the subsequent sessions. But for those guys who are interested right now, it all depends on routing entries. Now, if you look at this particular subnet, this subnet is associated with route table, which has got an entry for internet gateway. So whenever you see a subnet which has got a route table having an entry to internet gateway, it means that route table is called a public route table, and that route table associated to any subnet, that subnet becomes public subnet. And that is why in this particular picture you will see there are 3 EC2 instances shown, as well as some elastic IP, which is nothing but a static IP is shown, which is itself is a public IP. So these instances are accessible from the outside world. But if you look at other subnet, which is subnet 2, it does not have any entry in the routing table for internet gateway. It means this is not a public subnet. And in this case, we can call this as a private subnet. Now, this is something which is a minimal security model, which is typically deployed in VPC. Now, we will discuss kind of many more alternatives of this VPC topology in the subsequent lectures. And finally, just to take one more example of this VPC topology. Now, we have seen this VPC. Now, in this case, you don't see internet gateway. But in this case, you can see something known as customer gateway or virtual private gateway from the AWS side. And this is nothing but the VPN connection. So if you compare this with earlier kind of pictures, then you will see that there exists one called main route table, which is nothing but a private route table. There is no routing entry to internet gateway, but in the custom route table, there is a routing entry which is pointing to virtual private gateway. And this virtual private gateway is used for establishing this VPN connectivity back to your corporate network. So this is like, you can consider similar to internet gateway, but internet gateway is kind of for the internet, but virtual private gateway is for your corporate network or VPN connections. So I think that's all for this today's session, because we have some limited time. And that is what I wanted to cover, to give you a brief overview of this VPC. And obviously we need to dive into each component separately. What is custom route table, how to create custom route table, how to create internet gateways and so on. So that we will see in the subsequent sessions. All right. Any questions? Meanwhile, I have also created one small test. So just to check your understanding. So I'm just going to share this in the chat window. So I have put the it is the like there are around 5 questions, so you can really test your understanding of VPC. So whatever I have covered so far, so the questions are around that. Meanwhile, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask.
It says you need permission for this link.
I need permissions. One sec. You might have to log into your Gmail